the Neon Confidential podcast.
Is this thing on? I feel like in the Vegas scene, everyone just kind of ends up knowing everyone. But I think that I reached out to you like cold to do a touch of burlesque.
You did.
And that was great.
It was awesome. We did that at Centerfolds. It was a few years back. Yeah, you reached out and I was like, oh, that's awesome. It was right after I did X Country, I believe, for the Stabiles at Harrah's.
That's
and I
right.
was super pumped when you guys hit me up. I was like, all right, let's do this.
It was a great segue for you.
Yes.
So locally, I think that you are iconic for your tenure as a showgirl performing in Jubilee at Bally's Hotel, that was like the last showgirl show. And then you guest starred in Pinup at the Stratosphere. You were the first heavily tattooed pinup girl.
Well, first heavily tattooed showgirl.
Showgirl, that's right.
So that was really a huge step for the casinos. Being a dancer, honestly, once I got tattooed, I never thought I would be able to dance again. So I kind of stepped away from that and just went to modeling. And then I started burlesque because that was something I could do that was dancing and have my tattoos. And so after I did TV shows and all that stuff, my name got bigger. And then all of a sudden, casinos are like, oh, it's okay that you have a tattoos now. You know, you'd be headlining the show, so you can look however you want.
Isn't that crazy that like someone else had to take a risk on you to make it cool and then everyone kind of followed suit?
Yeah, it was it took a lot it was Stratosphere that did Pinup, and they were very hesitant at first, but it was like I was a professional dancer, and my name as a pinup model is one of the top names. And so I'm like, you're doing a show called Pinup, and I live in Vegas, and I'm not in it. Are you kidding me? And I think the show had been open for like a year. And Claire, who was their headliner at the time.
Claire Sinclair.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So when she wanted time off, she could never have time off. So they're like, well, why don't we bring Sabina in? So when Claire, wants time off, that she can, take over. So that's kind of how that started. And they gave me a week. And they're like, all right, we're going to do a week. And we did it for a Pitbull charity at that time. So a percentage of the money was going to go to one of the Pitbull charities. And so that's how we promoted it. And I sold out every single night that I did it. And so they were like, okay, we love you.
Or the fact that someone took a risk on you, but those risks, I was going to say, you're known locally for those things. But internationally, you've had 2 decades with a career as a model, showgirl, actress, international pinup icon. You've been photographed by some of the biggest names and top photographers in the industry. So David LaChapelle, Mike Ruiz, and then the legendary Bunny Yeager.
Yeah. Super awesome.
It's insane.
All 3 of those are amazing right there.
And then you were casted as a celebrity judge on Oxygen Network's Best Inc. And then you premiered on LA Inc. with Kat Von D.
I did.
I mean, like, this is incredible. So I think, again, locally, people know you as this, but like you've got international appeal and you've had quite a career. So I want to get into really the background of how you became this icon that you are. So what first drew you into the world of dance and performance?
Well, I started dancing at 2 years old. So that was just, my parents got me into that, obviously. And I did ballet, hip hop, jazz, tap, you name it, all that.
And where did you grow up?
San Luis Obispo, California. So it's a little small town. Grew up there, was in a ballet company, which surprises a lot of people. They're like, you're a ballerina? I was like, yes, I was in a ballet company, danced with toe shoes, all that. Did that all through high school. And then went to college because my parents were like, you got to go to college. And I'm like, there's nothing I want to do except for dance. And so I went to college in San Diego for dance. And at that time, one of my dance teachers, my tap teacher, he was like, had something to do with Jubilee. He was choreographing Jubilee. And he was like, you need to audition to be a showgirl. And I was like, what? And I was kind of a little punk rock skater girl, but I was into all the pinup stuff too. And so I was somewhat of a tomboy, but he was like, no, you need to do this.
And is this like the height of the showgirl like craze in Vegas, or like how did that?
This was in 98. I was the baby of the show. Like I just turned 18 at the time. And so when I went and auditioned, they were like, yep, we want you. I went and did the show and I loved it. Like it was so awesome. And I seriously feel like I'm one of the last like existing like real showgirls because like I'm still performing and still doing stuff, but that art form is like totally on its way out.
And that's because you were the baby of the show. So everyone else kind of just probably that was the end of their careers, but you've been able to take that and apply it to so many different aspects.
Well, and once you were a showgirl, no one wanted to leave that job. Like there were some ladies that were there in their 40s, being a showgirl. And so it was hard to get one of those jobs. And then when you got it too, you had to be 5'8" or taller. So like the first thing they did when you walked into the theater to audition was like, take your heels off. We're going to measure you and see how tall you are. And if you weren't 5'8" or taller, out.
That'd be the end of my showgirl career. I'm 5'2".
You could be the best dancer in the whole world, but they're like, nope. Like they had to keep, the real rules of being a showgirl. And
is that because when you guys are on the line, it has to look really uniform?
We all looked identical, unless your skin color was different, obviously. But we all looked identical. Our body shapes were all pretty similar. It looked so good with those huge costumes, because when you put those huge costumes on and you're tiny, that you'll just drown in them. And the stage is so big too. It was at Bally's hotel.
So you needed to have curves?
Well, you did have curves, but they didn't want fake boobs. They didn't want any of that. They wanted you to be, tall and skinny. And that was it. You couldn't really lose or gain 2 pounds. That was like,
Did y'all do weigh-ins?
They did do weigh-ins, yeah.
And then how many girls were in the show?
I want to say, I don't remember the total, but I thought they were saying there was like 100 people in the show total, not specifically just girls, but like with everybody involved. I could be wrong on the numbers. I don't remember, but it was a huge cast. Jubilee, seriously, one of the like biggest things I'm like the most proud of. And I think it's because there isn't even showgirl stuff out here at all anymore. Like it's gone. Like the real traditional showgirl shows are gone, and that needs to come back. But I've talked to so many people about it, and they won't do it because it costs too much money, and the casinos won't back it anymore like they used to.
From like the costumes standpoint,
Everything.
the production, all
Production,
of it?
costumes.
That's why I have so many questions about it, because I'm like, it is iconic. It was iconic. And I feel like Vegas wants that back. Like when you think of Vegas to this day, you still think of showgirls. As a publicist, we have, stand-in, faux girls, showgirls that are there for our red carpet events just because that screams Vegas, and it's just crazy that we don't have it here.
The only real showgirl shows left in the world is like Moulin Rouge. Like that's pretty much it in Paris.
How often did y'all practice?
Oh my God. So we were doing 2 shows a night, 6 days a week.
2 shows. That's
a lot. A lot.
Yes.
But I loved it. So it wasn't like it was really a job because I enjoyed being there. But it was no joke. And then after we were done with the shows, we'd rehearse. So sometimes we're rehearsing like 1:30 in the morning after, because we had to be on point. You weren't doing the walk right. We're going to keep doing it until you get it right.
So is that really what it was? For someone who's never seen a Vegas showgirl show, which I'm sure is a lot of people, because you had to be here. When was the last show? It was in the early 2000s. So you had to be here before then or visit before then. And a lot of these listeners weren't even 21. So what's the point of coming to Vegas? So like describe what it was like, the showgirl show, Jubilee at Bally's.
Oh, it was so amazing. Like the sets were incredible. There were so many gorgeous girls all looking identical in Bob Mackie costumes, Pete Menefee costumes. Just amazing. Everyone,
like feathers and sequins.
The costumes were amazing. Like there's nothing like it. And so just that, and just all the different sets and the dancing, and it's just something that you don't see anymore. Like, and they say like the movie Showgirls or something, you go and see that. It's like, obviously Showgirls is not like the movie Showgirls, but like the big stage production is something like that.
Were you invited to that premiere? Did I see that somewhere?
Which one?
The premiere of the Pam Anderson.
No, you know what? I wasn't invited, but then
that's why
they were hitting me up asking me to post for them. So I was posting for them because I know. I was like, "Are you kidding me?" They're like, "We know you're a showgirl and we know that you're, big in Vegas." And they were like, "Please do this for us," and all that. And
they honestly should have called you to train Pam for the show. I mean, they had to have had some sort of like model coaching, but you do that.
She was wearing my costume.
I can't. That had been like a little bit heartbreaking.
It was,
but nostalgic.
But you know what? In a way, though, I love Pamela Anderson, so I thought that was super cool. And the fact that they were doing a showgirl movie like that, and using the iconic costumes, I thought like she was awesome. Obviously, in real life, she's tiny and short. She would never have been an actual showgirl. But I love the storyline. I think she did an amazing job.
And how did your background? So you said that you did like ballet. You had a tap instructor. How did your background and all those different dance styles shape your transition into being a showgirl?
I think just being on stage and, performing my entire life helped me for that. And then ballet, I swear, is everything. Like it teaches you grace, it teaches you, just how to hold your body and all of that. So I think that right there helped me so much being a showgirl.
Were there any showgirls that maybe weren't prior dancers, or did everyone usually come up with a dance background?
Pretty much everyone had a dance background. I think while I was in the show, there was maybe one girl that didn't. And it was rough.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
But it was just, they needed somebody that was the same height, and they needed somebody at some time, and or she knew somebody of someone. I don't know. But yeah.
Even like memorizing dances, like that's hard. Like the memorization for me was hard when I was in cheer. I switched from being a gymnast to a cheerleader, and I would have to run over and like write everything down because I'm a visual. I'd have to see it written out in order to do it. So I can imagine for someone without a dance background, that was probably detrimental.
Yes.
Can you share any like memorable experiences for maybe there was like a show that really stood out to you for Jubilee?
Well, just like silly stuff, because since we danced so much together and everybody was so close, and we were doing 2 shows a night, 6 days a week, everyone knew each other very well. And so people would mess around with each other backstage or while they're on stage, just being silly kids, I'll never forget, there was like an infestation of like crickets.
Oh,
Roberts.
oh my God. I remember.
It was like a long time ago, but they were in the theater. They were everywhere. And the stagehands were putting them on strings and hanging them from the rafters in front of the girls while we're like on the stairs, all glamorous and pretty. And then you see this like grasshopper in your face. But like, it's just silly stuff like that.
Did you hold your
God,
face?
you had to. It's you know what I mean? You had to. And that's another thing too, being a showgirl, those stairs, like not being able to walk down those stairs without looking at your feet. You had to learn to like how to step properly, how to walk properly, because if you step back too far, you fall down the elevator. If you, if you're not paying attention going down the stairs, you slip and fall all down all those stairs.
Oh no, I need like a handrail and then like a guy holding my elbow.
Then
to
you have
help
the
me.
headpieces and the backpacks, which are like 25, 30 pounds each. So it's a lot.
Those shows were like your workout.
Oh, 100%.
How did it happen with you headlining on the Las Vegas Strip and Pin Up at the Stratosphere? Because like I mentioned, you were the first heavily tattooed showgirl. How did that happen? How was that transition?
Claire Sinclair was looking for a understudy. She knew me from the pinup world because she kind of dabbed her foot in pinup modeling for a little bit. And she knew I lived in Vegas and we got along. So she was like, hey, Sabina's a dancer. Like, let's maybe ask her. So they had me up against another girl that lived in Texas that was a burlesque dancer that looked like Claire, so that they could kind of like, if Claire wasn't there, they could like fake that Claire was there even if she wasn't. They decided to go with me, and that was kind of the end of it. It was something that was supposed to last a week, and it ended up going on for like a good year. And then I was about to sign another contract, but my deal is I needed more money at that time, and I wanted to change some of the dances when I was in to be able to dance more, because a lot of the dances were a little more like cutesy walking, and it was like I was a trained dancer and I wanted to really dance. So Ryan Kelsey was my dance partner in the show at the time, and he was like, you and I will like, choreograph this stuff and get it so like it's more of a production while you're in the show. And they agreed to all of that. But then when it came to signing contracts, they're like, we're not going to give you more money. We're not going to do this. We're not going to do that. And I'd gotten other opportunities. And I was like, I have to go then, because I was like, I did this for a year, undercutting myself. And
good for you. Like the entertainment industry is really tough, and it's the amount of work that goes into that. It's like physically on top of mentally draining. So I feel like I'm an advocate for you guys to be paid more. So good for you. Then let's back up. And how did you first break into the modeling industry?
Oh my God. So modeling is something I never wanted to do, which is crazy because that's what I do the most of. It kind of just fell in my lap. I was really into all the pinup stuff. I went to the Viva Las Vegas Rockabilly Weekender. And while I was there, I got hit up by a photographer, and he's like, hey, can you shoot for the cover of a Car Culture Deluxe magazine? I was like, sure. So I did it, just for fun. And it seriously snowballed from there.
That cover is iconic. It's iconic.
Well, and it's funny because that was like issue number 5. And then I did issue like 16 and then issue something and then the 100th issue. And so like I've done stuff with them over the years, but it was like, it wasn't something I ever planned to do or even wanted to do. I wanted to dance, honestly. That was like everything to me. And modeling, I just was good at it. And then it started to be fun. And it was a hobby that ended up turning into my career. So I got very lucky on that, but I work really hard too. So.
And is this all pre-tattoos?
No.
Okay, so let's talk about when you decided to get your first tattoo and what that timeline was like in between Jubilee and modeling and all of that.
So I did not have any tattoos in Jubilee. The soon as I decided to leave Jubilee, because I was going to the Moulin Rouge in Paris, I got the back of my neck tattooed. And I thought, okay, I could hide it when I put my hair down. And if I had my hair up, you could see it, or I could put makeup over it and it would hide it. And when I went to Paris, they're like, Sabina, they're like, no more tattoos. And that's a whole story there. But then when I came back, I honestly didn't think I was going to be dancing anymore because I wanted to get tattoos and I really wanted full sleeves. But I was taking it slow because when I started pinup modeling, I think I had a half sleeve on one side. And none of the photographers wanted to show my tattoos. So they would angle me all the time where you wouldn't see my tattoos, or I'd have to have a makeup artist cover up all my tattoos. And it got to the point where I had one full sleeve and everyone's like, if you do your other arm, we're done. We're not working with you anymore.
Like photographers were saying that?
Tons of photographers, clothing companies, a lot of jobs. There weren't many models that were tattooed that were in the pinup world or even modeling in general.
What was the appeal? Like you were just like, it's my body, my choice kind of situation. You're like, they're beautiful and I like to wear artwork.
I think it's just like, I've always thought the look of it looked really cool. And I love collecting art and I just liked it on my body instead of hanging it on a wall. And
you mentioned that you were like a skater girl.
So again, I was like total tomboy hanging out with all the guys.
So this is just you. Like there is probably no world in which you would not be tattooed eventually.
Yeah. So then I did full sleeves and it actually went to my advantage. Like everyone first was upset with me, but it was at that time there weren't a lot of girls that were, heavily. This was considered heavily tattooed back then, and it made me more unique. And so then some people would be scared to work with me, but then the second they worked with me, like, oh, we love you. And so then I'd get more jobs, and it kind of just worked for me.
What do you think that is? Like the expectation was because you had tattoos that you would be what?
I don't know. I
like
can't figure it out.
A bully or
something,
like
or maybe it was just the look or something, because it wasn't popular for girls, especially in like pinup modeling was already not a thing. I think there was like 5 girls doing pinup modeling at that time. I mean, it was back in like the 40s and 50s. It was huge. But when I started being a pinup model, there was only about 5 girls and none of them had tattoos. And so I felt like I was like creating my own like little niche. That's, when the TV show and everything came into play, because it was just like, oh, she's tattooed and, she's a model. I'll put her on TV. So
you didn't really have to like overcome anything. It was almost like you were just like, this is me, this is what I'm doing. And people just wound up accepting you.
Yeah. I mean, I had to definitely break boundaries because all the companies I was hitting up to like work for would not usually use tattooed models. So it was like I had to prove myself to people and be like, come on, please trust me. And then like they'd work with me, be like, oh, awesome. And then it would just kind of it's still to this day, I'm still doing that because now I'm trying to step foot into the fashion world, and like tattoos are a lot more acceptable than they were before, and especially on women. But they're still not as acceptable, as it is for a man to do. And it's one of those things where I'm like, oh, I want to do this. And I've lost so many jobs because of my tattoos.
I was going to ask, like, is there ever an instance where you were just really upset that you had tattooed yourself because you were losing jobs, or were you just like, this is all going to work out? Because
a little bit of both, because there's jobs. I mean, for example, like, being on the runway in Paris Fashion Week and stuff like that, or, modeling for huge couture designers, they wouldn't allow tattoos. And so I was super bummed because I wanted to step foot in the fashion world. And nowadays it's probably possible. And I'm doing a lot more in that world. But at the time, that wasn't acceptable. Oh my gosh. Well, shooting with Bunny, I mean, she's iconic. She's the one who shot all Betty Page's, famous pictures, her Playboy issue. Most of Betty's famous pictures were shot by Bunny Yeager. So when I opportunity to work with her, especially being a pinup model, that was just like probably one of the biggest things I could have ever done. And I've worked with her a couple times before she passed away. And it was just so cool to be able to shoot at all. She took me to all the locations she shot Betty at. And she's like, well, let's do this and let's do that. And the funny thing about it is I wanted her to shoot me in retro lingerie. And I thought that's what she's known for and all that. And a couple days before I went to fly to Miami to shoot with her, she's like, what kind of wardrobe do you have? And I was like, oh, I've got some vintage bikinis and some vintage lingerie. And she's like, what? And I'm like, what? And she was like, vintage. She's like, I don't want you wearing vintage. Were you telling me I'm old? And like got really nasty and mean to me. And I was horrified because I was like, what do you mean? Like, I didn't want to offend her. And I'm like, what? Like, I want to shoot retro style pinup pictures. And she's like, no. I don't want to see anything vintage. No, nothing like that. And I was like,
what'd you do? Oh my God.
So then, what she wanted? She wanted like stripper attire. So it was like stripper heels, like little tiny bikinis. And she wanted to put me on like a motorcycle, but not like a Harley or something. It was just like a street bike. And I was like, this is not what I want. So it was funny because I still was able to find some stuff that looked retro and get some images I want, but I had to use like all modern lingerie and modern bikinis. And I was all, no. I was like, people know you for what your style is. But then I understood as an artist, she wanted to grow with the times and she wanted something a little more modern. And I'm like, but everybody loves
It's almost like she was probably battling like ageism, because that's a real thing in the industry. And then also a little bit of ego, like you really just want, like you said, to grow with the industry. But like, I bet you the shots would have been so cool if she would have like let you do you.
I know. But I mean, realistically, like just the opportunity to be with her and learn from her and hear her stories. And, I shot with her a couple times. It's really cool. I'm really stoked on that opportunity.
And was that pre or post tattoos?
That was after my tattoos. The funny thing is so she didn't like tattoos either. When I went out there, she found these paisley tights and she's like, I want you to wear these paisley tights because they look like tattoos. So then it looks like your legs are tattooed too. And you can like pose so you see these paisley tights. And I was all, I did it to like appease her, but I was like, oh gosh. She was like, I want to do another shoot with you with like fake tattoos all over you. And I'm like,
Isn't that like, that reminds me of that quote that's like, don't ever meet your icons. You know what I mean? Because I bet that was probably just a different experience from what you had in your mind.
Yeah. She said I reminded her a lot of herself when she was younger. So she had me actually wear some of her old wardrobe.
That's
when
cool.
she said she didn't
She's
want
like,
red
I don't
robe,
want
then,
vintage. Yeah, I don't want
she's
vintage.
Like, wear this. So that was actually kind of cool to like wear some of the stuff that she'd actually made because she used to make all of her own wardrobe.
Wow.
And she said she invented the bikinis.
Did you wear one of her bikinis?
I wore a little tie top and these like little like pants that were kind of like, I'd say you put over bikini bottoms or something.
Cute. And so you've been featured on Best Inc., LA Inc., and then you've had a film too, Inside Game.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
You almost forgot about that one. You're like, oh yeah, I did do that.
Yeah.
How did acting and television go into your career?
Well, all through high school, I loved theater. I was in theater. I went to New York a few times while I was in high school thinking maybe I'll go and, move to New York and do acting out there, do Broadway, that sort of stuff. And dancing was obviously where my heart was, and the modeling came out of nowhere. That's where the acting started, was through theater. And then when I got offered Best Inc., that was just because they were looking for a host, like not necessarily a host, but one of the judges for the show. I had a manager at the time, and he was like, let's submit you for this. And we did that, and I loved it.
It's like a perfect gig for you.
Perfect. I loved it. It was very, very challenging because I'm not a tattoo artist, and I was judging tattoos. Yet I've owned tattoo shops. I did tattoo removal. I was a tattoo model for however many years, and on all the tattoo magazines. So I knew what a good tattoo was and what a shit tattoo was. Having to judge artists on TV, and that was a big thing. So I had to think about it as in a way that would relate to modeling and stuff. So I'd be like, how it looks on the body, how it flows with the body, color choices, size choices. I'd have to when I judged, relate it to things that make sense for me. and the audience. So I'm not like technical, like, oh, those lines are shaky and and like doing technical stuff, because I was not a tattoo artist, and I needed to be able to have the respect of the artists while I was judging them. So I wasn't a big laughing stock in the whole industry. But I seriously loved it. I loved it, and it was really hard. Just the schedule of it was hard. Everything was hard about it, but I love that it challenged me, and I want to do more of it.
Well, and especially like being in front of a live audience and being a showgirl, and then versus being on camera for reality show and film. What was that transition like? Because it's different.
It's totally different. I mean, with TV, just being on the spot with reality TV, because we'd have earpieces, and the producer, you know kind of what the scene is supposed to be. But in the middle of the scene, the producer could be telling you to say something or do something in your ear, and you have to, like, on the fly, be able to pull that off or say something or cause controversy or, whatever they're trying to tell you to do. It was definitely something that took a lot of work, and then learning how to speak on TV too, because you have to, especially if you're a host on the show or something, how to pronunciate things and have that excitement so it's not boring. Like, you have to kind of go over the top on things to, like, make it so it looks like, to any person normally, like, if you went somewhere and were acting like that, it would be like, you're obnoxious. But in TV, it's awesome.
This is so funny because I tell my clients, like, I have to media train our clients. They're on, morning shows, and there's media opportunities and things like that. But the 3 things that I say, it's like you have to say the brand name more times than you think is natural. You always have to answer a reporter's question with the question. So it's like, what's your name? My name is this. And then the last one, and the most important one, is smile so much that it feels unnatural, like where you almost feel like you're a serial killer, because that's the one thing. People will watch themselves back on TV and be like, oh my God, why do I just look like my grandparents died?
I'm mad.
Exactly. Because it's like not natural.
Yeah, that, and I'd also learned that you have to return everything back to what you're trying to talk about. Because, like, sometimes I learned that a lot with TV stuff. They'll get you on and they try to dig into dirt on stuff, and you have to, like, turn it back around to what you need to get put out there and what the network wants put out there.
What was it like working alongside Kat Von D on LA Inc?
Oh, Kat's awesome. I knew her before LA Inc. Just being a female in the tattoo industry, being at the tattoo conventions in London and stuff like that. It was like we got along because, again, there weren't very many females in the tattoo industry at that time. And when she got LA Inc., she asked me if I would be on the first season. And I was like, definitely. So she did the tattoo on my wrist here on the TV show. So that was a lot of fun. She was cool. We got along really good.
Do you have a favorite tattoo? Now that I just saw that one, I'm like looking. Now I can't stop
Well,
looking.
All of my tattoos mean something. So it's not just something like I pick off the wall or something. They all have a meaning, even if it's dumb. I think my favorite tattoos are probably like my neck tattoos. I don't know which side is on. My roses. I have like 3 roses for my
really
kid.
Pretty.
My kids, and then I have a swan here, and then I have my husband's name.
That's just a natural segue. I was going to save those questions for last, but I want to know how you met your husband.
Oh my goodness. So I had to find a man on the other side of the world. He's Australian, and I used to work in Australia all the time, like hosting tattoo conventions. I did photo shoots over there. And, I was writing for a car magazine over there called Deadbeat Magazine. So I was over there a lot, and he was in LA a lot, and we both had mutual friends, but we didn't know each other. And a long story short, okay, let's see here. So I was over there with one of my photographers and my makeup artist one time, and I flew home early and they stayed, and they got tattooed by my now husband, and they're like, oh my God, we found your husband. Like, this is the guy you're going to marry. And I'm like, what? And they sent me his Instagram, and I went and looked. I'm like, oh, he's hot. I followed him, and then I saw he had a girlfriend, and I was like, delete. I was like, not doing this. Years went by, thought nothing of it. And it ended up, I had a tattoo machine with Bishop rotary, like, machines, and it had my pinup picture on it. And Nix, my husband, was in Australia, and he was one of the reps for Bishop in Australia. Bishop was telling me, I was like, oh, I'm going to Australia to host some tattoo conventions. They're like, oh, you need to meet up with Nix. He's our rep over there. You guys will get along great, this and that. So again, we reconnected on Instagram, and it was like, oh, hey, I'm going to be out there, la, 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 la. No, didn't think anything of it, didn't remember him, nothing. Ended up not going over there. Something happened and the conventions got canceled, but he was best friends with one of my best guy friends at the time, and he came over to visit, and we were at the Hard Rock at the Center Bar. And
also iconic.
Yeah, he's a very iconic. he was there. I walked in and it was just like instantly, as soon as we saw each other and then as soon as we talked, game over. Like we knew like instantly it was love at first sight, and we have not been separated since. So
When was that?
that was 2015.
Okay. And
February 2015.
That's so cute. So you guys just celebrated your anniversary.
We did.
What anniversary was
That
it?
was our 10th.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Both of you have a tattoo shop together. So you owned tattoo shops before him, and obviously he owned tattoo shops before you. And now you guys opened up
Smiles and Cries Tattoo.
Smiles and Cries here in Vegas. So talk about that. What's that like, owning a tattoo shop with your husband?
Oh my goodness. It's so good. I mean, we get to work together pretty much every day. So that's good. It's such a dope shop because we have like streetwear clothing on one side and then we have the tattoo shop on the other. And it's just a very high-end, classy shop. And we're appointment only. You know, each tattoo artist designs the tattoo specifically for the client. It's not just like, you know, walk-ins and picking stuff off the wall. Like it's a very high-end shop.
I feel like that's what kind of sets it apart from other shops that are in town. Like we're in the arts district now, and I won't name drop any
We're
tattoo
not the
shops.
$10 tattoo shop.
And that's what I was
You
gonna
don't
say.
want
That
that.
place always has a line just wrapped around the corner. And actually, my VP Chelsea, her old roommate has like, that's his thing. He would just get hammered, and he's like such a handsome guy. And he would go get one of those, I think they're $13 tattoos. I can't remember. But his whole like stomach is full of them. And I'm just like, how do you, like, I'm talking like a clown, a rubber duck, like horrible
Yeah, but
tattoos.
then people come in and they're like, can you cover this? So it's like they end up paying more money because they're going and getting something silly or it's not a great tattoo, and then come in and they want it covered up or fixed, or you're like, you should have done it right the first time. But I get it. There is a little niche for that, you know, for just quick little banger tattoos that are like that. But you gotta think you get what you pay for. So
Yeah, I saw there in like videos of the shop of Smiles and Cries. There's like brick walls and like leather couches, and it's like just a little more upscale.
yeah,
Like I'd
we
want to
definitely have a vibe there for sure.
Like I'd want to have like a glass of whiskey when I'm sitting there
yeah.
or something, you know? And so as someone who traveled the world for tattoo conventions and photo shoots, what trends do you see shaping the future of the tattoo industry?
Oh, that's a good one. So the tattoo industry has changed so much over the years. I don't know if I'd say it's for the good. The good part though is that the art level has gotten so high, and like the equipment has gotten so good and the inks have gotten so good. But I feel like it's oversaturated now, and it's probably from the tattoo TV shows, making it a lot more acceptable. So many people have tattoos now, even if it's just one little one. Like it's crazy how big it's gotten. And I just talked to the health department lady out here, and she said there's over 400 tattoo shops just in Vegas. So the competition is crazy, and there's a lot of really crappy artists because now, like back in the day, you weren't able to get a tattoo machine unless you could prove you were a legit tattoo artist and you worked in a tattoo shop. Like you could not get a machine, and nobody would teach you how to tattoo either. So like you kind of had to be like, you had to be an apprentice under somebody that knew what they were doing to grow up into the industry. Nowadays, you can just get on YouTube or, you know, TikTok even.
You can get a tattoo machine on
Amazon.
Amazon. I've looked.
Disgusting.
I was horrified.
And, and the scary thing is like these people think that they're tattoo artists because they're doing this out of their house and they're learning on TikTok and they're just tattooing their friends and learning. And now they're like, it's just destroying people. And it's so bad. And it's so out of hand right now. It's just young kids that don't know the art of it and don't have any respect for the, you know, the artists that have been in it for so many years. And it's actually really sad. You know what I mean? My husband gets so upset about it. I'm like, you don't get upset. Like it's the times, you know, and it's bound to happen. But again, it's getting so saturated that people are going to start falling off now too, because there's not going to be enough work. So
what do you feel like makes a good tattoo artist?
Oh my God. So a good tattoo artist, I feel, has to be well-rounded in all kinds of styles of art, not just tattooing, but that they can draw, they can paint, you know, airbrush, any of that stuff. Like they can do other stuff with art. And I also think a good tattoo artist should be able to do most styles of tattoos. Maybe not every style, but should be able to take anything that walks in the door. And that's how it used to be. And nowadays people are like, oh, I only do American traditional tattoos, and they won't touch anything else. Oh, I only do, you know, certain things like that. And I feel like you can't really specialize in a tattoo like genre until you've built your name, and then you figure out what your style is, and then you can specialize in it. But I feel like you need to you need to pay your dues before you can't just walk into the industry and be like, I only do this.
I agree with that. Like, you can't start out that way. You have to, be well versed, and then you have your niche afterward.
100%.
Speaking of like how tattoo styles have changed, I feel like you can date someone almost by their tattoos. Have you talked about this before? Because like I feel like everyone knows this. Like, it's like even going back to like the Pam Anderson, like barbed wire. Yeah, 100%. You just know. The tramp stamps. I have one tattoo that I got when I was 18, and like it's different from all of my other tattoos because it's like there's like a little, and actually, so John Boy does all of my tattoos. He's out of New York City, and he's like, we were talking about this earlier, he specializes in very dainty, tiny tattoos, and I've got 7 from him. But when he was tattooing my side, he spots this tattoo that I got when I was 18, and he's like, no fucking way. I'm like, I'm probably gonna get it removed. And he's like, no way. He's like, let me tattoo over it. And I was like, really? And he's like, this is a story. Like, you got this when you were 18. And I told him the whole thing that like I hid it from my parents. It was my 18th birthday. It's like as soon as I was old enough to get a tattoo, that's how I wanted to like rebel. And he's like, let me touch it up. Let me tattoo over it. So rather than getting it removed, I had him go
Brighten
all
it
the way.
up
Yeah,
and
all the way
make
back.
We're doing that to my tattoos right now because some of my tattoos are like 20 years old. And so we're going through all of them.
I was gonna.
And
They
adding
look
the
so
color.
bright. Like,
Well, I
they're
mean,
very vibrant.
We still have a long ways to go. Like, we just started doing it, but we started on each arm. Like, you can tell, like, for example, see how old this is? All the color fell out of it. I got this done in Japan, and all this came out. But like, you can see we're starting to like do the colors back here again. Like, I even changed her back piece, so now she has a new back piece.
I was gonna ask. I'm like, did you change them, or he just went over them?
A little bit of both.
He's just updating
Yeah.
him.
He's updating them, brightening up the colors, and it does wonders. Like, I didn't realize that my tattoos were so faded and like starting to look that bad. And when I got tattooed, I never once in my wildest dreams thought like one day I'm gonna have to brighten those back up again and go over them. So now it's like, are you kidding me? I have to go back through all of my tattoos? Because now he opened a can of worms by doing one. I was like, okay, that's it. Now you got to do them all. And he's like, what? And I was like, yep.
Absolutely. There's no way you can just do one.
Yeah.
When you're getting dressed, do you like dress for your tattoos?
Not at all.
No.
Not at all. But you know what? I do think I'm very weird with like accessories. I know that sounds silly, but I feel like my tattoos are kind of my accessories. So I've never really big into jewelry and like necklaces and earrings and all that. Like,
That's a good balance.
yeah. And then I also won't wear clothes where it's like crazy patterns and stuff like that, just because I feel like it kind of competes. I don't know. That's
how I
weird.
describe, like, you have this very like retro classic American Beauty kind of look. But even just like being blonde, I don't want to wear pink. Yeah, like that's like a thing for me where it's like it's just too much. Like I feel like my hair is already very blonde and bright.
So you're already too bright like that. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, I want to talk about your personal life and work balance. So between modeling, acting, business ownership, philanthropy, how do you balance everything being a wife and a mother?
It's hard. I used to get joked about that I was a super mom doll. So I was like, a supermodel, but I'm a mom, so super mom doll. And it was just learning how to balance my family with work. It's not easy. Like, I just don't stop, honestly. And my family understands that I do, what I do is what brings in money, and that's how we survive. So they understand. And when my kids were little, they used to go on shoots with me all the time. And they got to travel the world too, because I do shoots all in other places, and they got to travel with me. So in a way, it was kind of cool for them too, because they got to do things. And then I have pictures of them too that were from professional photographers. I mean, my kids shot with LaChapelle too.
Stop.
So, I mean, they've gotten to do some pretty amazing things. But again, like, my family always comes first, like, honestly. And when I'm not traveling, I'm home all the time. Like, I'm such a homebody. And it's like, I always say, like, unless I'm being paid to be out or like something that I have to be out, I'm not out. Like, I want to be home with my family and my dogs, and I want to go to bed early, and I want to get up early, and I want to be able to work out and eat right and, stay in my routine.
That's exactly how I am. I think living in Vegas too just makes us different beasts. It's like,
Totally.
I'm in PR. I have to be at events all the time. And if it's not a client that's paying me to do the event, I don't want to go to anyone else's. Like, it's just how it is.
Yeah.
Speaking of shoots, I've seen on your Instagram too that you've been a mentor for up and coming models. And even just watching you train people, it makes a huge difference. I mean, I can tell and I'm like, oh my God, look how they're hitting that pose. So what advice do you have for people who are trying to break into the industry?
So the model coaching kind of came as like so many people are hitting me up going like, how do you do this? You should, how can I do that? And asking me all these questions. And so I kind of started teaming up with photographers, and I've done it all over the world where pose them for a photo shoot. We bring in like my professional hair and makeup team, get them all dolled up. And some of these people have like never been in front of a camera before, never had hair and makeup done before. And then I pose them like for, best for their body type and what their insecurities are. Like they're like, oh, my hips are too big. I'm like, okay, I know how to angle you properly to make your hips look smaller, or maybe you should try this. And I just teach them little tips and tricks of what I've learned over the last 22 years of modeling. It's like, what has worked, what hasn't worked. And then it gives them a chance too to ask me whatever millions of questions they want to ask me for the industry. And not everyone I model coach is a model. Some girls have never modeled before, and some have modeled 100 times, so I deal with the pro models and people that are just normal women that want to feel beautiful. And it's so cool to have a woman come in and like, she's like, oh, not feeling the greatest because she's like, I'm a mom, I'm feeling kind of frumpy, or, I'm feeling getting older, and just doesn't have that like zest anymore. She doesn't feel beautiful. And we get her all dolled up and her hair and makeup and do the pictures, and they start crying because they're like, oh my God, I am beautiful. I'm like, yeah, duh. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's such a rad feeling to like give these women some confidence. And I'm like their number one cheerleader while we do these shoots. So it's so much fun. And it's just, again, it's something that is just like keeps getting bigger and bigger. And it wasn't something I'm ready to just dive straight into and do full time. But like, I mean, I'm going to Germany next month to model coach there for 3 days. And it's starting to go all over the place again and like all over the world. So it's cool.
And I'm sure people trust you and believe in how you're able to pose them because you've had this illustrious career in modeling, and it's not like you're curvy, like, and that's beautiful. And so how important is that for you to be able to push boundaries and redefine beauty in the modeling industry?
Oh, I think it's super important. And I think pinup is such a different category of modeling, and it's a lot more acceptable for curves. And it's, you can be any height, any weight, any body shape, any color, anything. Like it's all about personality. And so that's how it's different than in the high fashion world. I mean, obviously everything's been different nowadays. Like you can be bigger than you used to be to do a lot of that stuff. In pinup, it's always been a lot more acceptable to have curves, and it's actually they want you to have curves because that's when you see that like hourglass shape, and it looks so good in all the pictures and all the classic old 40s and 50s pictures where you're not photoshopped. It's what they look like and how they were posing and how the lighting was and all of that.
What is a day in your life like right now? You mentioned you're going to Germany soon. So like what's like a typical day for Sabina Kelley?
Well, a typical day, I usually wake up around 5 because my dogs want to eat at 5 every single day. And so I wake up and I feed them. I eat something real quick, and I usually go to Pilates. I go to the Good Place out here and I do Pilates. I love that right now. That's like my workout routine. I try to go there about 5 days a week.
Wow.
Yeah, I love it. Reformer Pilates.
Oh man, that's that like it's like a machine looking
Yes,
thing.
yes.
Oh my gosh.
It's good. Have you done it?
I've done it one time before, and it was just like, I mean, it really does, like the next day you're sore and you're like, I can back squat 400 pounds.
It's a totally different workout.
And it's like elongating, I feel like is how I describe it.
Building lean muscles.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Back up. So you said that you wake up and you eat something really quick. What do you eat?
I make an egg and a piece of toast, and that is what I eat, and then a coffee.
You're like routine based. Like that's what you do every morning. Okay. So then after Pilates,
I eat again.
but yeah, we want to know, like, tell us like specifically what you eat.
I have like a little protein yogurt and like a beef jerky stick, and like a protein beef jerky stick, and with 0 sugar and that sort of thing, grass fed. And then I get ready for the tattoo shop. I go down there and get the shop all ready for the artist for the day. Right now, my main priority has been this tattoo shop because my husband and I have put everything into it. So it's like the shop has got to work, and we've been open for about 18 months now, so we're good. But then I'm at the shop if I'm not doing a photo shoot. So it depends. Like if I'm going to a photo shoot that day, or if I'm going to the tattoo shop. Now I'm in rehearsals right now because I'm going to start performing. I have 6 shows in France in April. So I am preparing for that right now.
Where are the shows at?
It's at the Ruin Tattoo Festival out there. So they are bringing me out to perform there. So
That's so cool.
I'm excited. So I'm excited to get back on stage again because it's been a minute. So I'm like, oh.
Are people surprised when they walk into the tattoo shop and see you? Has there been like anyone, or I'm sure people probably seek you out to go there, but is there times when people walk in and they can't believe that you're there?
It's funny though, because when I'm at the tattoo shop, I'm usually like not all dolled up. You know what I mean? It's more like hair in a ponytail, not any makeup or just a slight bit of makeup. You know, just kind of casual. Because I feel like I live different lives. You know what I mean? Like I'm at the shop dealing with the tattoo shop, but then modeling is a whole nother world, and I'm always all dolled up for photo shoots and going out and shows. When I'm not doing that, I don't really want to be all made up like that. I want my skin to be able to rest. I want to just be me, I guess. Not that the other stuff isn't me, but I don't know. I don't like wearing makeup all the time. I don't like it. And so they come in and they're like, "Oh my God, Sabina, what?" Or sometimes they'll like, it's funny. Usually they know that that's my shop. So they'll be like, "Are you there today? Are you there today?"
People like DM you and ask.
Yeah.
That's something that's interesting. That's something that I've had. Maybe it's not that I've had to like work on it, but it's one of those things. I feel like it's almost a sign of respect to like get dressed up for client meetings and that kind of thing. So I've really had to, but it takes a lot of work. It's almost kind of like pointless. I mean, I feel like I'm looking at your skin and my skin. We've got great skin. We're not covering anything up. So it's one of those things where I've had to step back and be like, do I really need to do this every single day?
It's such a personal preference. It's not that I don't like being all dolled up, but I'm like, we go so over the top every time I'm doing photo shoots and stuff. And again, like I notice if I'm wearing makeup like a whole week straight, my eyes are feeling heavy. Like I just feel like I'm not getting all the makeup off completely. Or like, I don't know. I don't feel as refreshed. I like to go a day or two without any makeup, and maybe I don't look absolutely amazing or whatever, but I don't care. Honestly, I'm at that point where I'm like, I'm being me. And so like when Pamela Anderson's like all about this, no makeup and all that stuff, I'm like, girl, I love you.
Go, girl.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that crazy?
I
like,
love it.
I do too. I feel like there is a congruency to what we're talking about here, because when I first saw her do a red carpet without any makeup on, I was like, oh my God. But then I'm like, but look at everything that she's done and all of these shoots that she's like just iconic and dolled up for. And like, she doesn't need it. And it's so silly that as women, we feel like we need it.
Yeah, that we need it, that we have to, that you're not beautiful if you don't do that. And I think that was such a bold and brave move for her, especially with being so iconic for being like one of the most beautiful women in the world. And she was always in full hair and makeup and always like to the T glamorous. And, being in Playboy and like on Baywatch and all that, like she was just looked at as like a sex icon almost, you know what I mean? Now, like she like stepped away from that and she's like, no, that's not me. Like, this is me, and now she's like into her natural, not makeup line, but like the skincare line. I use that stuff all the time. I love it. And like her skincare line. And now she did the movie and, she's does her blogging and stuff, all that. It's like she's come into her and her gardening, and it's really cool. It's like she's an icon now in a whole nother way, where it's like I looked up to her when I was a kid, and now I'm like, oh my God, like I look up to you again for like being that powerful to be like, I don't want to wear makeup to the red carpet, I'm not going to, and she doesn't have to, and she still looks gorgeous. Like,
that's exactly right. That's
Love
exactly
it.
right. So you talked about what's coming up for you in France. What else? Is there any other projects that you can drop hints on?
I know what you're trying to ask.
I know. I'm like, you don't have to, but like,
I'm trying to work on something with the Virgin right now. Yes, can't say much yet, but love that place, love Cliff, and lots
Vegas,
of good things in store.
Vegas needs it.
100%.
I have faith that you two will work something out, and I think that's just such a perfect venue. It's bright and red, and like I just feel like it's such a perfect venue. So hopefully we can look forward to something on the horizon.
100%.
We'll see.
Well, and that's one of my favorite casinos too. Even when it was back in the day in the Hard Rock, that's where I met my husband. But I used to work at the tattoo shop there. I had my tattoo removal business in Carrie Hart's tattoo shop, the Hart in Huntington. That property, just like, I have so many memories on that place. And now I have all these new memories there. I shot my 2025 calendar. More than half of it was shot at Virgin this year.
Where can people get the calendar?
SabinaKelley.com. But I only have 13 left, so you better hurry.
And what, do you really?
I
do you
have
have? You're gonna
13
have to
left.
print some more.
No,
or it's
no
only.
more.
It's
Nope.
just it's barely February.
I know.
Oh, the tattoo removal.
Yes.
I didn't realize that you did that.
I
Talk
did
about that.
for about 8 years. And that was one of those things where it's like I wanted to be part of the tattoo industry, and it was kind of a plan B for when I couldn't model anymore. Because at that time I was like, well, once you turn 30 or something, you can't model anymore. I just thought that's how the industry was. And so I was kind of being smart, like, let me have, what else can I do that has something to do with what I'm into? And so I'm not an artist by any means. Like, I can't draw for the life of me. I draw like a 2-year-old, so I could never be a tattoo artist.
But you're the canvas.
But yes, I'm a canvas. But so I decided to do tattoo removal. And I went to school for that. And I started doing that out here. And I did it at Carrie Hart's Heart and Huntington Tattoo Shop. And I was really good at it. And I did that for 8 years. I ended up moving to Australia, so I had to sell all my stuff because I couldn't take my laser over there. And then I never got back into it because now the lasers are about $400,000. And so,
oh my God.
And the rules are a lot stricter now. When I got into it, I think I was the only person in Vegas that was not a doctor that was doing it. And I trained under a doctor and I went to school for it in Arizona, but they put me under massage therapy. They didn't have anything in the business license department that was anything like that. And I'm not a doctor, so they couldn't put me as a doctor. So I was under massage therapy. I was like, this is weird. But
I might have you look at a tattoo that I had removed. And again, I was 21 when I had this tattoo removed. And it was at a doctor's office, like you said. So this is all like checking out. I'm like, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense. And I'm sure lasers have gotten so much better, but it keloided.
Yeah, that happens sometimes.
And this, because it was so long ago, I'm sure the technology just wasn't even there. To this day, I bet you I could have like one laser session and like a microdermabrasion and it would be gone. But I leave it because it reminds me not to do stupid shit.
Don't do stupid things. Well, honestly, there's so many factors that go into tattoo removal. It depends how old the tattoo is, what the color of ink is, how deep the tattoo is, your skin type, your skin coloring, the laser you're using, what settings it's on, like so many different factors for it. Usually having the color skin that you have, it should be easy to get rid of. But
it was a brand new tattoo.
How long had you had it?
I'd had it for like 2 months.
Oh yeah, too early to get it removed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you had any tattoos removed?
Oh yeah.
You have?
Oh yeah.
How many?
I removed my ex-husband's name on myself. So even though it hurt, you know how bad it hurts. It sucks. But I did it to myself. I was like, get that off. And so I got that off.
You probably had to get in the zone for that. Like, you're like, I am doing this. Mine was on my neck too, which was like,
ouch,
oh my God, it was so painful. That's interesting. I didn't know that you had that business.
I feel like I've done everything.
But that's really cool. What's next? Like, where can people find you and stay updated on announcements?
So pretty much SabinaKelley.com is my website. Instagram, that's the main social media outlet that I'm on, is at Sabina Kelley, Kelley. That's where the best places are to find me and see what I'm up to. I'll be doing model coaching, more of that. I start shooting my calendar for next year pretty soon. Shows coming up, so we'll see. I've got things in store, but I can't say anything yet.
Well, I mean, just even hearing your journey and just, I feel like you're proof that breaking boundaries and staying true to yourself can just lead to incredible success. So I really appreciate you taking the time to come on, and I can't wait to see what you've got cooking.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.